the ship came back. In 1931, a cargo ship was abandoned in Arctic ice. The crew thought winter would finish it. It did not. Weeks later, hunters saw the same ship moving through the ice again. Empty. No crew. No orders. Then it kept happening for decades. The ship was the SS Baychimo. This is not a ghost story. That is why it works. Baychimo began as an ordinary working vessel. It carried supplies north and brought furs back for the Hudson's Bay Company. It moved through the Canadian Arctic and along the northern coast of Alaska, where a ship was never just fighting distance. It was fighting weather, ice, darkness, and a coastline where rescue could be a theory more than a plan. In that world, a ship did not need to be cursed to become unreachable. It only needed winter. That matters because Baychimo was not a famous ship before the incident. It was not built as a symbol. It was built to move goods through a region where the map was never the full problem. A route could exist on paper and still become impossible once ice closed a channel or a storm erased the horizon. So the strange part of the story does not begin with a cursed vessel. It begins with a normal machine doing normal work in a place where normal work could become dangerous very quickly. In October 1931, Baychimo became trapped by sea ice near Barrow, Alaska. The crew tried to wait it out. Some men were taken off. A smaller group stayed nearby, hoping the ice would shift and free the ship before the season closed around it. That was a rational choice. The ship still had value. The cargo still had value. If the ice opened, Baychimo might be recovered. Then a blizzard moved in. When the weather cleared, the ship was gone. Not damaged in front of them. Not visibly sunk. Gone. The simplest explanation was also the cold one. The ice had crushed it, or the sea had taken it. In the Arctic, that would not have been strange. For most ships, that would have been the end of the file. This is the first important restraint in the case. The crew did not abandon Baychimo because they wanted a mystery. They abandoned it because survival and recovery had become separate questions. You can value a ship and still know that men should not die guarding steel in moving ice. The Arctic had changed the terms. But Baychimo had not sunk. A few weeks later, Inupiat hunters saw the vessel floating south of Barrow. The crew reached it again. They removed valuable cargo and left the hull behind. That detail matters, because it takes the story out of fog and puts it back on deck. People did not merely hear a rumor about a lost ship. They found it. They boarded it. They took material from it. And then they left the ship to the ice again. This second abandonment is what changes Baychimo from a rescue story into something harder to classify. The owner was finished with the ship. The Arctic was not. From that point forward, Baychimo was no longer a lost asset in the ordinary sense. It was a derelict. A floating object with no crew to steer it, no port expecting it, and no easy way for anyone who saw it to take possession safely. That is why the repeated sightings feel so strange. Every appearance was also a missed recovery. Over the following years, people reported seeing Baychimo again and again, sometimes locked in ice, sometimes moving through open water, sometimes close enough that people tried to board it. The latest sighting record is not all equal. Some reports are better anchored than others. Some are the kind of maritime account that survives because it is repeated, not because the paperwork is perfect. That is the line this case has to hold. Baychimo was real. The abandonment was real. The recovery of cargo was real. The artifacts tied to the ship are real enough to sit in a museum collection. Those artifacts are the anchor. Without them, Baychimo risks becoming just another maritime legend. A name passed from article to article, growing cleaner and stranger each time. Material objects push back against that. They remind you that there were hands on the cargo, men on the deck, and a ship that could be boarded before it slipped away again. But the farther the ship drifts through time, the softer the record becomes. That does not ruin the case. It gives the case its shape. Baychimo is not a mystery because nothing is known. It is a mystery because the known facts fade into reported sightings without a confirmed final wreck to close the distance. The ship may have sunk. It may have been crushed. It may be buried somewhere, No search has crossed carefully enough. No confirmed wreck has ended the story. So Baychimo remains in a strange category. Not alive, not found, not proven gone. That is more precise than calling it a ghost ship. A ghost story asks you to believe the impossible. Baychimo asks something colder. How long can a real object keep moving after every human system around it has let go? The crew abandoned a ship to the Arctic. The Arctic kept it. And for years, whenever people thought the story was over, the ice gave it back.